what you should not be paying for a house.
Yeah.
Whether it's a single story, whether it's a true story, is pretty much anything above.
Well, and we're back with a brand new episode of Nailed It. This week we're going to cover possibly a little bit of a controversial topic, more so to do with how much should you really pay for a house. So we're pretty excited to get into this.
I was going to interrupt you. You know, this topic actually is why I started Homes by CMA.
You did interrupt
Now
me.
that I think about it, I started Homes by CMA because when I looked at building a house in Australia, you just have no clue as to what's going on. And it was just so complicated. The pricing was all over the place that
That's a good point.
I was just like, there's got to be a better way.
True.
So anyway, going back to what you were saying, because people still have no idea what we're talking about.
yeah. Well, we thought we would be as transparent and as open as we possibly can, and you guys can take what you want with that information. But we thought we'd break down literally price per square meter that we would charge for a house.
And what you should be paying, I guess that's the important part. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
None of this overcharge stuff. And like, we're going to tell you that, like, if it's under what we're about to tell you, generally they're making up for it somewhere else. But we'll get into that in a little bit more. But let's cut to the chase. So obviously just tell them, give them the parameters we're working with in the types of houses we're talking about now.
That's it.
Before we get into the pricing.
That's it. Well, the first thing to say is what makes us, I guess, have the knowledge to say what should be the price per square meter. Like,
that's it. What makes us?
That's exactly right. And to give people a sort of idea, we're obviously based in Queensland, so this is more so talking about the prices in Queensland.
That's it.
I don't know if the prices in the other states are that much
I'd assume,
different.
surely,
I would
Sydney
assume,
and Melbourne would be more
that's
expensive,
it.
Right?
But yeah, long story short, we are considered a project builder now. Last year we sold 450 homes.
Yeah, we killed
so
it.
we are no small. So we get a real good idea of what pricing should be.
Yeah.
And we really get a good idea of margin and how low can you go.
How low can you go? It sounds like a line straight out of a limbo game, doesn't it?
How low can you go in terms of margins and what is fair and what is just too cheap and it just doesn't sound right, I guess. So that's where we come from in terms of, I guess, explaining that to people.
Perfect.
In terms of houses, houses are very complicated. There's just so many types. There's the architect's designer home.
Yeah.
There's the really small homes. And then there's the biggest market in Australia, which is the project homes.
Yeah, the in between those.
That's it. Yeah. And most of the builders that are building, say, 100 plus, even 50 plus homes, I guess, would be in that type of house.
For sure.
And there's a certain type, and most of the builders would have a similar type of house. Yes, they're not exactly the same designs because of copyright and all this, but they would usually be suited for the new land developments,
Yeah,
the
that's it.
12.5 meter blocks, the 14 meter blocks.
Yeah.
So they're mostly the same. So that's the houses we are talking about here. But we might give a little bit of a hint into architects, designer homes, and sort of all this. Yeah,
100%. So let's cut to the chase. So based on the normal inclusions that a normal builder would generally include in a house, how much should you pay per square meter? Let's start with single story homes.
Well, the first thing I want to say is what you should not be paying for a house.
Yeah.
Whether it's a single story, whether it's a true story, is pretty much anything above 1,500 a square meter for a normal house. So we are talking a ready-to-move-in house with standard specs.
That's it.
That's what you should not be paying. Anything over 1,500, there's got to be something a little bit sus.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of single story, I've done a little bit of a piece of paper there. And keeping in mind that house prices are based per square meter, the bigger the house, the less it will cost per square meter. And the smaller the house, the more it will cost per square meter.
So for people who don't know, just quickly touch on why it's based in per square meter.
So to give you an idea, I guess, if we were to build a 200 square meter single story house, it's got 4 bedroom, 2 bathroom, and a 2-car garage.
Yep.
And if we were to build a 150 square meter home that would most likely have 3 bedrooms, but still 2 bathrooms and a kitchen. So really, those two are going to have the same amount of bathrooms. They're going to have really a similar kitchen.
Yeah.
And they still have the main components of a house. So you still got the bathrooms, you still got the kitchens, you still got the building approval.
That's it. The
You
most
still-
expensive parts.
That's exactly right. So you still got the concrete pumps and all those. So all houses have fixed cost, and those fixed costs, whether it's a really small house or a medium-sized house, would usually be the same, which is why we can't apply the same rate per square meter of a 300 square meter home as we will a 150 square meter home.
Yeah. All right. So let's cut to the chase. How much should people pay for a single-story home?
So for single-story house, based again on a ready-to-move-in package where the only things not included will be landscaping and fencing.
Yeah.
The standard rate for a house that's above, say, 250 square meters would be around $1,000 a square meter.
Cool.
Now, there's also something we forgot to mention. There is something we forgot to mention. And that is that as we record this, it's February 2021.
Oh, yes.
And time goes quick. It's already 2021.
That's it.
But people will have to be mindful that this year we'll most likely see quite a few price increases from builders. And the reason for that is the Home Builders Grant has created so much work that there's going to be a shortage of trades and there's going to be a little bit of a shortage of supplies. So keeping in mind that the prices we are saying now apply to today, I guess, but be mindful that there will be a few price increases.
That's it. And that's not just us. That's across the board,
definitely.
everywhere. So, yeah.
So going back to the prices.
Yeah, that's it.
After we said this.
Sidetracked.
$1,000 a square meter will get you a single-story house above 250 squares.
Yes.
So that's roughly that. So the house is 250 square meter, roughly pay 250,000.
Cool. Yeah.
If we are talking smaller houses, because a lot of homes that are sold nowadays, single-story, are probably around the 200 square meter mark.
Yeah.
You should be paying around $1,050 a square meter.
That's it. So a lot of people don't realize, but the smaller the square meterage, often the more you'll actually pay, right?
Definitely.
Yeah.
And we are not talking even into the smaller houses because there's not that many out there. So I would say one of the most common size is 200 squares.
Yeah.
So 200 square meters, and 1,050 would be about right in terms of rate.
Awesome. And just touch on quickly for people who don't know why and what's the price difference with compared to a single and a double story, even though they might be the same square meterage, why is the double story more expensive?
So the first thing to consider is you might have a 200 square meter single story and a 200 square meter two story. The 200 square meter two story will be smaller.
Yes.
Now they're the same size, I know, but the two story will be smaller. The reason for that is the staircase.
Yeah.
You will lose more space because of the staircase, and probably I would say to compare 200 square meter single story house with a two story, I would compare it to probably a 210 square meter two story home. So just keep that in mind. And obviously in terms of two story, you might think, yes, there's less concrete, there's less roof. However, there's also a staircase, which a basic staircase from a home builder's point of view is around 5,000-6,000.
Yep.
And that's not even taking into consideration the balustrade.
That's it.
But you've also got scaffold, which is not cheap. You've also got all the two-story framing, the joist, the particle flooring, and pretty much all that will cost more. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
So all that will add up quite quick, which is why you will never pay the rate of a single-story house for a two-story house.
That's it. But at the same time, there is obviously a lot of benefits to having a two-story house. And some builders might even only allow you to build land
developers.
Land developers and covenants might only allow you to build a two-story house on the land, which is getting more and more common as you see with blocks that are getting a lot more smaller. So they're down to 200 square meters, but your conditions are you have to build a two-story. But yeah, so what is the going rate you reckon for a two-story home?
So two-story homes, most of the two-story houses that are sold around and we sell, I would say, are around the 300 square meter mark. And the rate per square meter for that would be roughly $1,100 a square meter. Cool. So again, this is based on a ready-to-move-in house with standard specs. We're not talking anything with swimming pools and none of that.
Yeah.
So $1,100 a square meter. Now, if we are talking a smaller two-story house, for example, around 250 square meters, you might be talking $1,200 a square meter. So you see how that has changed quite quick.
Yes.
We've dropped the house size by around 50 square meters, but the price has increased by $100 a square meter.
Yeah.
So again, because you got to keep in mind that really the scaffold is going to be the same. There's a lot of things, the staircase is going to be the same.
That's it.
So you got to take into account those fixed sort of components. So yeah.
Cool. And is there anything else you can think of before we head off and have a short and sweet episode today that you want to include about pricing or anything that people should know about it?
Well, I guess people will know at some point if they've overpaid or not. And the reason for that, and a lot of people might not realize this yet, but you sign up with a builder. Most likely 95% of people have finance.
Yeah.
You sign up with a builder, you will have to give that contract to your bank. That's how you're going to get the finance. So what the bank's going to do is they're going to do a valuation on the house plans and on the specs.
Yeah.
So the banks is smart. Obviously, they're not going to lend you money if that the house is way overpriced, because if you lose your job and they got to sell your house, they're going to make a loss. So the bank's smart.
So you're going to find out real quick if the builder's made and you overpay per.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And obviously, there's mistakes once in a while. You know, sometimes some valuation firms are a little bit undercutting and they don't really look at it.
Yeah.
But in most cases, the bank will do a valuation, and that's why so many of the big builders have jobs that fall over.
Yeah.
Because there's a house that's priced at $350,000. The banks come back and says to the owner, that house really should be $250,000.
Yeah.
What happens next? They tell the owner, well, that's what the sort of owner asks.
Yeah.
What's next? Like, what stuff happens? Do I go back to my builder or whatever? And the bank will say, well, you have to come up with $100,000 cash from your own money. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
So you will know at some point. And what happens is, a lot of those jobs are going to fall over, and those clients are going to have to then switch. I guess I'm not going to call a normal builder, but a builder that's normally priced with the rates that I just talked about, I guess.
And I know a lot of it happens in like the color selection. Like we were talking about this earlier, where there'll be an absolute, you'll come into the showroom or the design studio, whatever it is, for your color selection. It looks incredible. There's often an attractive interior designer there. There's all these amazing options to choose from. And before you know it, you've got your tea, your coffee, your, what else is there?
That might get you a drink too, of alcohol.
That's it. Yeah. Yeah. Accommodation, even some of
for sure.
I've
heard of accommodation. Yeah.
Yeah. And, they all do that obviously on purpose, because in the color selection, that's when they're going to make a lot of money with, these markups that are honestly extravagant and ridiculous, and you wouldn't even believe it.
I mean, exactly right. And a super easy example is the car industry. And we spoke a little bit about this, but there's another thing about the car industry. You go and see, for example, Toyota, and you might want to have a GPS. Usually that GPS is going to be like $3,500. You can go to JB Hi-Fi and get a GPS for $500,
Yeah.
So
mount that on your little, on your windscreen.
That's exactly right. So, and not only at the start when you design your car, but also at the delivery stage is when they got really, really high margin items. So, your window tints, you can get your protection for your paint, you can get your protection for your leather.
Yeah.
The same applies with home building.
Yeah.
And that applies at color selection. So again, like you said, usually a very pretty interior designer, you do your color selection, and they will try to upsell a lot of stuff, because some of those builders start with very low prices, very low margins on those prices, because they know they're going to upsell you on those things. And obviously we're going to talk about this in another episode, but the side costs and other areas where they make a lot of money.
Before you know it,
clients have no idea.
Your house might only be, $200,000, or they may get it really cheap. But you've just spent $100,000 in upgrades in your color selection.
How many
$300,000?
How many times have I heard clients that have come to us and said that they've been to another builder, they've been through the color selection. The color selection was great. They spent the whole day there, whole day doing a color selection.
Yeah.
And they come back with $100,000 in upgrade in like a $250,000 home, and I'm like, and those upgrades shouldn't even be upgrades in the first place.
Yeah, they should be. A lot of it should be standard, right?
That's exactly right. And yes, great again, but we come back to the valuation from the bank. The bank will look at that, and they will let you know if you've overpaid or not anyway.
Yeah.
So just really keep that in mind. His builders, and again here we are talking about the project builders.
Yeah.
The smaller builders, I haven't really heard of them doing upselling and all that. We are a project builder, but we don't really upsell. I've never done it.
Yeah.
We never push anything. If you want it, you can have it, but we're not going to push for that.
That's it. We're there to help, assist, and guide. We're not really there to really sell, right?
That's exactly right. And I think that's how it should be. And I think you're gonna get a vibe. You know, when you go and do your color selection, how does it feel? Does it feel like they want to push some things through? You know, I think you're gonna get a really good vibe. Which is why I hate when I buy a car.
Yeah, that's so pushy.
Oh, we're gonna introduce you to Maria, and so you you go and see Maria, and Maria's
they put the big guns on me.
She sits you down. So I highly recommend that you spend, $500 on the tint.
Yeah.
We've discounted just for you 30%.
Bloody Maria, I'll tell you.
It's all good. I've got a karting guy and can still do it for less than your 30%. So I'm good,
Legit, yeah.
But you just got to be mindful about those things, I guess. So and which is why it's always good to shop around.
That's it.
So yeah.
I hate those Marias. Honestly, it's such a pain. Like,
I said Maria, but my grandma was Maria. So
yeah. Right.
So
At least you didn't say Karen.
I've got nothing against the name Maria.
Yeah, me neither. Yeah. But well, I think we should end it here, eh? I think it was a pretty informative. I think people will get a lot out of this. And I feel like a lot of people will be going back to their builder over the weekend and being like, hey, I've got a bone to pick with you.
I guess, and yes, just be mindful, obviously, that if it is anything drawn by an architect or anything like that, or if you've got a lot of slope on your block, this is not part of this.
Yeah.
If you are, for example, having your plan drawn by an architect, you will be talking $2,000 plus
100%.
Per square meter.
Yeah. That's not even including the architect fees.
That's exactly right, and they will add up quite quick. Which is why even when we have clients that go through a drafting sort of company or an architect, always good to have a chat with the builder and see, what do you think?
For sure.
Because we're going to come up with ideas to try to, change this, move that wall, to try to save you a little bit of some money.
That's it. Because like you said, we know the materials and the cost of everything. So we can base the plan and your house design around that to help it be as cost effective as possible.
That's it. And that's what's good about dealing with builders that have a size that's good enough to have their own drafting team.
Yeah, like us.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Because the good thing about it, and a lot of people don't even know that, but you can get a custom house and you don't even have to pay for those plans. That's how good it is.
Yeah, that's it.
So, and most people that come to us, for example, don't even know this. So, and a lot of people have a sketch and they think, they go and see someone and it's $10,000 to do this. And, a lot of people and a lot of builders have a drafting team and we do this all day.
That's it.
Sort of every day. So so you can save money there too. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I think that's a pretty good episode. So as usual, if you have any feedback for these episodes, we'd love to hear. Let us know if you enjoyed it, if you found this informative and you actually have taken something away from this topic. If you have any other topics that you'd like us to cover as well, that'd be awesome. Other than that, even tell us how we can improve and things like that. We're always down to learn and get some constructive feedback.
Let us know if you got into an argument with your builder about our price.
That's it. Yeah. And that too. Yeah. Let us know if you had that tough conversation. But yeah, have a great rest of the week, guys. And we will see you next week for an absolute incredible episode.
But coming back to that, and I forgot to mention why we started CMA.
Yeah.
So we started CMA and I wanted to build a house and I went around and the prices were so different. I just couldn't understand.
Yeah, it's complicated as hell.
Oh, it's so complicated. You go and speak to a small builder and he's like, oh yeah, this is going to be 1,300 square meter.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. And you assume a smaller builder is going to be more expensive. Then you get to the project builder and they're like, oh, how many times have I seen that sign? I can't remember what builder. Well, I can't say, but 2-story house, 5-bedroom, 3-bathroom, 4 living from $750 a square meter.
Yeah.
So then you see, so one's $750 a square meter and one's $1,300 a square meter, and what's right? And then you look at all the other builders in between, and everyone's got different pricing.
Yeah.
So that's one of the main reasons we started CMA.
That's it.
We wanted to be transparent. We wanted to have pricing where the pricing is not just for a house that you can't even move in, but the pricing is for a house which you can actually move in.
That's it. It might be $700, but that's just for the shell.
Oh,
it includes nothing.
Exactly right. Exactly right. So anyway, I just thought I'd mention that because that's one of the reasons why we started CMA, and hopefully we've cleared up a little bit the industry, and we're bringing some transparency.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some real talk straight to y'all. Yeah, cool. All right. We're tired. We got to get out of here. It's been a long week.
We had 5 handovers today. So
I know. It's been hectic.
we've for those that don't know, again, I'm gonna assume this, but when we hand over a house is when we give the keys to a house. So today we've given the keys to 5 amazing homeowners.
That's it. So, not to toot our own horn, but Chris, being the director of the company, he still personally goes and checks most, if not all, of the houses that we hand over in the year. So
I try. I definitely try, and today was
100%.
hard. It was a test. It was a test today. 5 handovers on the same day. Yeah,
especially when you're doing like well over like 400 homes a year, 450 homes a year.
That's
so
it.
It's crazy.
That's it.
But yeah, all right. Well, let's get out of here. And again, next week is an absolutely incredible topic that you're not going to want to miss. Have you got anything, a little teaser for anyone before we go about?
Well, next week, what we are going to talk about is something that builders, and when I say builders, mostly project builders, they will charge a fortune for it.
100%.
And the reason they do this is because clients have no idea what this is even about. And a prime example is going, for those people, I'm trying to find an example. You go to a mechanic, and I don't know nothing about mechanics, and the guy's like, I got to change your belts because otherwise you can't drive. It's going to be $5,000.
And you're just like, okay.
What do you say?
Yeah,
That's exactly right. The guy's got your car, you trust them with your car, and you got to pay $5,000. Most likely going to go ahead. And some builders apply the same principle. And a lot of time it's not right, and they really overcharge, in my opinion, anyway. And I guess in most people that work in this sub-industry, they would agree with me.
Yeah.
So next week we're gonna cover exactly how you check that what you're paying is right, and we're gonna cover exactly a bit of explanation onto what those things are, because it's very complicated. Like even people that work in the building industry sometimes don't even know about it.
It's true. So yeah, I think that was a great little teaser, and we'll leave you guys to it, and make sure you tune in next week for that episode, because it's going to help a lot of people out. So thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you then.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.